Alright, I was a targeted individual my whole life. Uh, I suspect the very first dreams I had were manipulated by a mind control project, and or I'm smart enough to understand how my subconscious configured a dream when I was like 3 years old. So I'm watching my dad play Super Mario, and there's a bullet that goes across the screen. He explains what it is to me, and I remember having a dream of putting a hole through my sister's torso, and I look down, there's a hole through me. And if you interpret that with wisdom and what happened in my life and how we parted ways from my dad because of issues and abandonment issues and all that, that's how it unfolded. You know, and the very first pages of our religious text talk about interpreting dreams. Um, and it's not that there's a supernatural aspect to it, it's that your brain's already faster than light. This is Einstein's theories right here and being applied. And you know your thoughts faster than light, and there's reasons for that. And then on the other hand, there's studies about being in a perceivable universe up to we're a second behind in our consciousness. What's going on is already happening 1 second ahead. So based off where our consciousness is sitting, and you apply that with a middleman attack in the brain, you can know something before someone has thought it. So I'll touch on to the directed energy. So that's the first sign that I was being mind controlled. The amplification of a dream like that and its configuration. The When I was a kid going to school in middle school, I was often sent home because I kept having nosebleeds, and I had headaches. I would go to the bus stop, and I thought it was just me being out of shape. I felt thousands of prickles and heat, hot flashes up and down my back, and I also had issues reading. I would have to read things 2 or 3 times in order for it to start clicking, and I suspect that that's also a middleman attack on the brain with a directed energy weapon. Now, the nosebleeds I had in my adulthood. So, looking back I'll explain the newfound consciousness and why the assessment and analysis of access in the gateway process is valuable here in a minute. But when I was 20 years old, I went to sleep one day, and this is April, May-ish, and then I woke up and my head was numb. The right side of my brain was hollow and numb at the same time. And with these technologies, it enables synthetic telepathy. Synthetic telepathy, it is that synthetic, and we're capable of natural telepathy. Odds are you can feel if someone's standing behind you, you can feel their presence. You could probably turn the lights out and walk up to this wall and know right when to stop because of your human resonance bouncing off of it. Not just sound, but actual energy aspect, a percolation of energy. So back to the directed energy attack, that you have to understand a bunch of stuff to understand the whole big picture. But so this attack, my brain's numb, and basically my bioelectromagnetic polarity is inverted. So instead of my brain spinning outwards, it's spinning inwards, and the physiology of my brain had then changed to enable this hollowness to act as a transmitter. So my very own matter would be used against me for mind control applications, synthetic telepathy, remote neuro monitoring, and just brain manipulation. It enabled the cloning of my brain, them understanding the algorithms and playing them back to me. So like you'll record me in a depressed state and then play it back to me, and I'll be in a consistent depressed state. And it is advanced way more than just that. That's old school stuff. Um, Now you're looking at these pathways within the brain, okay? So now you have individual um, parts that are responsible for different things in the brain synchrony, and you're capable of middleman attacking each and every pathway. Now, my brain, this numbness had spread throughout my whole brain. It was basically a full brain lobotomy. I'm sitting there in a vegetableized state. My consciousness is being butted aside, and someone else is conscious in my own head. That's what I call a remote consciousness signal, a synthetic telepathy. Um, and they're sifting through my memories. And I'm watching, I'm perceiving this. From my perspective, in the middle of my head, my consciousness sits and it's being butted aside, and someone else is using a technology to sift through my memories. And that's pretty cool to a degree. It's a little insane that I would say that, but, um, you know, now that as my whole brain's infringed, the torture began. I was put on my knees and made to say Gates is God, and I was, tortured endlessly. And the tactics and ways of manipulation. You have control of my brain. You're controlling my short-term memory. I'm going to forget what I was about to do, what I was saying, I'll be putting the cereal in the fridge and the milk in the cabinet. I'll be standing in one room wondering why I'm standing there, having to go back and rediscover what I was, and then you'll get back to the room you were in when you thought of the reason why you were in the one room, and then back to another one, and an endless cycle of pacing back and forth. Then the actual control of the body and sleepwalking. You'll be lifting your hand over your head, wiggling your hand, and just because they sent that thought to you. That your muscles individually can be controlled. A lot of people have muscle twitches and they don't stop, or chewing. These are symptoms. And now you can be put in the fetal position on the ground if you're being hit with a scalar beam. I've been there many times. And no touch torture. Your pain. It's pain in general. Just a microwave in the nervous system just does not mix. You're taking a balloon that's full of water and trying to replace some of the water with oil. It don't mix. So that's the roots to pain, the nervous system, and you're cooking it. All right, and then on top of that, the focused amplification of pain. Your nerves are shot, and that doesn't compare to the amount of pain you have to put yourself through in order to fight these weapons. Now, I'll get onto that in a minute. But again, the mental manipulation. You'll be watching TV, and it will not be about you, but you will perceive it how they want you to perceive it, and they'll make it about you. And this is through synthetic telepathy and controlling your perception. And they intentionally make you show, symptoms of schizophrenia. They intentionally mind control you to display psychosis, and that's not the case. Odds are you really don't have psychosis, other than how they're manipulating it and you're displaying it. From there, like fighting it. After all this torture, you have no choice but to use it to your advantage. And if you can learn how to channel your bioelectromagnetic energy, you're going to want to start walking at 5 miles a day, and then you're going to want to start channeling from the middle of your brain, pushing your energy consistently and constantly, pushing both hemispheres together, hemi-syncing, and aim right out your ear. There's a pathway that goes straight out the side of your head from the right side of your brain, and push from the middle of the right side of your brain to the left side. This will enable hemi-syncing. You'll feel your body fill up with energy. It'll feel like a static of energy, and you'll feel your heart percolating and bottlenecking its electromagnetic vortex as you're hemisyncing. Not only can you hemisync with just your brain, but you can hemisync with your heart and other vortexes along the nervous system. And you can also build vortexes per each individual pathway, but it takes 3 activations of 3 different pathways minimum, and holding your electromagnetic field in place and hemisyncing its percolation at the same time. And then all of a sudden you hit it hard enough one day, and it feels like there's a sustaining bubble in the middle of your head, and that's when you know you've done something. You think that it's going to make you uncomfortable at first, but then you realize you're just tacking on more consciousness. And a true genius will tell you that you can control how smart you are. Eventually you start off on the right side of your brain, and you end up sitting in sustainment in the left side, outside of your head. So you're now building pathways outside of your head, holding the hemisync constantly. Every 30 seconds, you're giving a vibration off that's measurable and readable. It's basically oscillating the whole wavelength, and you'll be cerebral flames in your aura. Now, there's a lot to this. It is not a walk in the park. And if someone's going to be in your life with a microwave, and you can draw energy from its friction because of its introduction to your nervous system, then do it. You're going to be here all my life, monitor my thoughts. I'm going to use this fucking energy and consistently fight. So I absorbed energy every day, all day, for months on end. Every 30 seconds, I'm oscillating. You can feel your oscillation of your kundalini, if you will. I call it the bioelectromagnetic core, and you can feel the heat. And you have to oscillate as you're also building a pathway and its sustaining vortex per individual 3 pathways. So you'll have your neck piece right here in the back. You're going to want to consistently build out from the back of your head through your neck, and then the middle of your head, and then finally the front of your head. And you're going to want to keep paving pathways, boom, 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 every which way. And then you're also going to want to hold the hemisync forward and sideways at the same time. You literally get a sense that you are an electromagnetic bubble, a percolation of multiple vortexes, and that's how your brain's swimming. Both lobes are going outward, and the mind control makes them go inward, and you're fighting that resistance. And the microwaves are no efficient tool, by the way, to monitor actual brain activity. You're better off using electrodes. Microwaves are an interference to the brain's processes. Your consciousness is electromagnetic patterns generated by the brain. It's what Persinger defined it as back in the 1970s. So you're having these cycles, and you can augment them. Any genius will tell you that you can control how smart you are. And that's where we're at. We can self-augment. The human DNA is and probably will be the best technology to date 1,000 years from now. You can turn genes on, you can turn genes off. I suspect part of the reason, we have, some of us, we call ourselves targeted individuals. Some of the government identifies us as super empowered individuals. You call telepathy a capability, but it's a reality, and there's nothing supernatural about it. And I think that everybody has telepathic traits. If you're around someone that's depressing, you're going to be depressed. If you're around someone that's exciting, you're going to feel excited. That's a natural telepathy. The augmentation of telepathy is literally using your bioelectromagnetic medium to read someone's short-term memory. You know what they're going to do. You can read their future. You can process their future. You can read their minds. Me and this guy, when I finished completing my brain, I'm going to a grocery store, and I'm watching this lady that's about to go to a park, and just for the shits and giggles, or I'm psychically trying to remote view shit. I called my brother up in Hawaii when he was stationed there at that point in time. I said, "What color is your carpet? Is it like green or blue?" Yeah. And you're going to have a natural, your brother. Here's the thing about it, the entanglement. Your brother's biometrics. You know the way he makes you feel, the sound of his voice, the tone of his cerebral burn, his heart cycle. I know him. I know him like the back of my hand. I can hear his voice in my head. I feel his energy, and I can find it. And sure enough, you can see through their, you don't necessarily see through someone's eyes, but you can process what's in their electromagnetic field and what they're perceiving with their eyes and around their eyes. So it's like, and another thing that you have to understand is that the eyes see, they're the instrument that allows you to process visual, electromagnetic, light. So you have to understand that the brain is processing it. The eye is the most powerful part of the brain. And when someone doesn't see, it makes me curious as to what they've developed in their head with the mass. And generally, blind people can see colors. If they hold something, they can sense the color. And you start wondering why. They say it's texture, but I don't think so. Because I think that the same patent that was used for lensless microwave cameras, or there's patents that I've posted to my Facebook profile. There's NASA uses microwaves to analyze stars and process visual image. Where do you think the inspiration for these technologies came from? Think about it. We can see without our eyes, and we can see through each other's eyes because of telepathic connections. Accept it. It's electromagnetic physics. There's nothing supernatural, paranormal about it. They're pack hunters. Dogs have very good expressions, and they've evolved that intelligence with us. You can look at a dog's gesture and know what he's thinking, but it's not just the gestures, is it? You know something deep down in our connection with our alphas, our alpha canine, our best friend. And it displays. I think that there are elite psychics that have dogs that can speak English, or at least trained to think in words of the English model. That's that just triggered a thought about AI and what it is. Classes of the English model and automation of understandings, which is pretty cool, but it's not intimidating for me. What is intimidating is artificial consciousness applied and synchronized with synthetic telepathy. That's going to be what happens. That's what's going to destroy humanity. You're already using mind control at a mass scale to dumb down the population. And when people are dumb, they don't hear about targeted individuals. They don't care. And they're not going to even be aware to fight it. They're not going to be aware to vote for the politicians that are against it. And our society will eventually be flesh puppets, and our knowledge is already regulated enough. When you can regulate it from ground zero, that's what you're going to do, because keeping people stupid keeps you powerful as the elite in government. But I've said this before. What's going to happen with the structure of this right now is Bill Gates runs the NSA. And it's all compartmentalized through federal agencies, etc., state levels, the deep state. And what's going to happen is all of these people that are aware of mind control and implementing it or targeting people are going to be replaced by artificial intelligence within the next 50 years. So there will be no human mind controllers or even people that target people. And they'll be eradicated. Your power will mean nothing, and you will be a nobody just like me. You'll be replaced. If you look at the pattern, 30,000 tech workers fired, and then the next week it's like, oh, check out this new chat GPT, artificial intelligence. They got replaced by fucking artificial intelligence. Now eventually, like I said, this whole artificial intelligence and mind control and synthetic telepathy will be used to brainwash you into stupidity. You're already brainwashed by people with political pull that work for software companies. You go to an IRC chat room, there's no such thing as mind control, you schizoid. Like now, you remember Darren Kitchen from Hack 5? He's a targeted individual and he's got the fucking EMF blanket up and all. And here you are, you all are idiots, and what are you going to keep mind control a secret? Why? The first thing about telepathy, the first secret about telepathy is everyone has the potential and there are no secrets. There's no such thing as a secret when you're telepathic. So I'm not going to practice that. I'm not going to practice anything secret is generally evil. There's no other reason why you need to keep a secret. And having that type of a guided consciousness all my life, the only people keeping secrets are the people that are up to no good. And that's what you're doing with the mind control. If mind control was so great, more people would put their faith in transhumanism, but you're sitting there reluctantly. First it's COVID, then it's Black Lives Matter, then it's killer bees, then it's UFOs, then it's aliens, and we're in this endless loop of shit that's being made up and exposed in order to keep this mind control project a secret. Because mind control is fucking evil. It is, not worth it. It is the biggest waste of humanity. That's some of my story. As I said, I've came a long way building my brain, and when I had first completed 2011, 2012, I went to school having to fight directed energy. I'm running 5 miles, had me sinking my brain and going to class. I could keep that up for a year, and then I crashed. My mother died, and I was brought into the police station for suspected murder. They thought I actually would hurt someone. I have a guided consciousness. I'm being attacked with directed energy weapons. I'm being scrutinized at an ultimate level. I don't think that I would make that mistake. I don't think that I would even want to harm anyone. I'm halfway. I got a billionaire that hates me, and it's no reason to take my anger out on the world. It's like I have something that billionaire doesn't. That's like I'm not gonna fucking go hurt anybody, and hardly anything could provoke me to doing so unless it was in defending my life. And I'm pulled into the police station because I cut someone's grass, and he just happened to murder his wife a few days ahead of me cutting his grass. And I go, it's like, what if I actually was framed? I would never. This woman, she worked at McDonald's. I forgot her name. I know it was Lisa, but I forgot the last name. And I love women. When I was with Tracy, I never actually, would harm her. Ever. Like you can't hurt the person you stick your, it's just not logical. Now women, and the women like to fight. At least she did, and they like to argue. It'd be nice to find a peaceful person, because I've been through a war that no one else can apparently fight, and I'm a little shell-shocked. It'd be nice to have someone to hug, but then on the other hand, I'd be bringing someone in close to my life that could attack me or be used by people mind controlling people to attack me. So it's not logical, and I understand that I'm in a war, and there's no, I don't get to do what you get to do. I don't get to have a family. I don't get to, raise children and teach them all that I know. I don't get to, that's the hardest part about it. One of the hardest parts. The other hardest part is that you've spent you've spent decades being ridiculed, called schizo, and then not only are you being attacked with directed energy weapons, you're being stomped on by society in itself. These DSM manuals are wrong. There are genetics and genes turned on in people that enable telepathy. I know that you think that part of me, that's prodromal schizophrenia, but it's not. I can assure you that this is augmentation. I have pictures and books where I've drew the future. And then the telepathy alone and being able to thoughts are like strings relaying. That's what synapses are, and you can just so happen to hear them. You can listen to them. You can see them. You can see flickers of people's minds. You can see their eyes bump as they're having them. These are electromagnetic pulses of people's brains that you can count. Different humans they can do different things. Some people are better at pulling. My preacher, they hold the secret of prophecy and pulling memories out of people's heads. Just think about when you try to remember something and the same algorithm being repeated to someone else's head, and you're basically using their memory too. I think I just told you, you're in a lobotomic state, sitting on a couch watching TV, and they're controlling your perception, and me being manipulated and tortured, and then also them pulling memories out of my head in a very inductive manner. That's what I just described, and it is a hell of a thing to go through. But these technologies are inspired by the human's natural capabilities. You can oscillate between your heart's vortex and the very signals that you control from your brain, amplifying the signals that you send to your hand for motion, and you can puppet someone to move their limb. Along with injecting the very thought of something itching, you can puppet someone to scratch their nose. Scratch your nose because you now know right. And that's not just a poker signal. That's an actual thing that people do to snob on people that don't even believe. So you'll be in a room with me. If you scratch your nose, I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to scratch your nose on one of two accounts. Because I want you to, or my mind controller was racing me to do so. And I snob on people like that because I'm tired of fucking being called schizo. Wouldn't you? Every time your head tightens up and you feel it, and you feel the pathways not capable of being accessed by your consciousness, and you gotta kind of loosen it up, melt away the infringement. But pushing that energy is something that it's second nature. 10 years ago, you're fighting, hanging in your head with just a bit of consciousness, and you finally hung on for long enough, pushing this energy. And you have to brainwash yourself to fight, because they're injecting thoughts of not fighting, pushing your energy and hemi-syncing your brain. So it is a brainwashing scheme as well, and the tactics for that can be automated with artificial intelligence. That's even scarier. And then at a mass scale, like I said, the kids of the future, they're not going to be conscious the way that you and I are today. They'll be lucky to see colors the way that our government's designing this. You know the movie The Giver? That's where this mind control thing is leading. And that's exactly what it was about. That's the deep meaning of the movie Giver. And I hate to say it, I feel like one of the ones that were chosen as a seer or a receiver